Hello, and welcome to the GCast. I'm Ninja, and I am blind. Who are you guys? Get out of my house.
This is my house all along.
I'm Paradox.
Oh, gasp. Well, this is going off to a great start, guys. Good job.
Yeah, I know.
Alright, so my name is
two of
Runny.
you?
I am the head of this. I run the show pretty much. I do everything. These guys do nothing. It's all me. All me. Just wanted to listen.
Fuck you!
My name is Gutrot, and I'm one of the original GCast members, but I have not starred in one of these episodes. What? So it's my first debut.
The reboot since. Alright, Paradox, hurry up. We need to get to the topic.
Okay, so today we're going to be continuing from...
And that's Paradox, everyone.
I introduced myself.
Oh,
right
you
after
did? Yeah, I
you.
forgot about that.
I'm sorry.
Alright,
Anyways, so today we're going to be continuing with our,
Marvel Retrospective.
Yes,
and we're gonna
our
do,
Marvel Cinematic Universe Retrospective. We're going to be doing Phase 2 and starting with Iron Man 3.
Alright, so this is directed by Shane Black, which I feel really gives the film some really amazing direction and sense of individuality.
Okay.
It feels...
Probably nobody else will say anything so
I didn't remember Iron Man 3.
if you just look at it,
much.
I really like it because it goes into the heart of, PTSD, and, the story of it is very unique, and it's something that we don't see in the MCU. The closest thing we get are the Spider-Man films, of, being so close to the characters and seeing them from a civilian's perspective.
I think we get a little bit of that in the Cap movies, but that's a little more, in the middle of the conflicts.
Yeah.
Where, this is, literally, this is Tony's life, this is what he's having to deal with after the events of the Avengers.
Yeah, and I really like that. It really adds to understanding what Tony's character is, and it builds on, his arc throughout all the MCU.
It definitely was a very good way to finish off Tony's main arc. I mean, he does have more afterwards that kind of add on to it, but this is his, in the arc of the Iron Man trilogy, the arc he has in there, this is a very good way to end it off, I think.
Yeah.
So I do gotta say, it was a bit weird, because whenever I first saw it, and he blew up all of his suits, I was like, oh, I guess he's not Iron Man anymore. But then he goes into being back to Iron Man, and I'm like,
yeah,
where did this come from? I thought he couldn't be Iron Man. And what happened to Pepper's whole super
Yeah, I mean, we already know what happens to that. But in Age of Ultron too, I was like, oh man, I guess Iron Man's not going to be in Age of Ultron. I guess Tony will be there. He'll be I guess he'll be the Oracle. Yeah, the guy in the chair. He'll be the guy in the chair.
Guy in the chair. Several years before Spider-Man
Homecoming.
Homecoming.
The trailers and the promotional art came out, and it showed Tony in his suit, and I was like, wait. I was like, oh, so I guess that whole, the whole Iron Man 3 arc, his end is just kind of nulled now. So.
Well, at the time, you couldn't have known it was Tony Stark without seeing his face, and even then, it could have been his brother.
Brony.
Brony strap.
He's like a skater dude, and he's radical, bro. Oh, Ultron, that's not cool, yo. I'm gonna have to blast you out of oblivion. Trick shot.
It's Crony Stark.
But,
take this, Ultron. Kablamo.
Kablooey.
Though this film did have one interesting side effect, was because it came out right after the Avengers, it got $1 billion in the box office. I think at the time it was number 10 in the highest grossing movies of all time, all because of the Avengers. Yeah. Are you eating popcorn?
Oh no, sorry, I was just messing around with stuff. My bad. Anyway, let's continue.
Oh, I thought you were eating your burnt popcorn. Okay, so
Here at the GCast, we take things very seriously and always paying the highest level of focus to things.
Yeah, of course. So the next one is...
I forgot about it. What happened to that again?
Movie.
I never even saw it because it was so forgettable.
Thor.
Everybody told me it was not worth seeing, so I'm like, okay, I won't see it.
Thor goes through the exact same arc he went through in Thor, the first one, and he was just like, oh no, I have to be loyal or whatever, I don't remember. And then his mom dies, so he's on another trek of revenge. But Loki is also on a trek of revenge. And because Loki's a better character, Loki takes up the second act a lot more. And throughout all this, I think there are dark elves, and at some point Jane Foster gets
she does.
the Aether inside of her.
Yeah.
And so then Rocket Raccoon has to take it out, which we find out. Like, this is a part of the canon where Rocket Raccoon went into Asgard and took out the Aether, and then Captain America came back in and ate it, or made it eat it or something.
I don't know.
I don't care about this movie.
Anyway,
this movie's very
It sounds very bland.
forgettable, and honestly, it's very useless in the whole MCU stuff. The only reason it even matters is because of Endgame, but Endgame explained it away, and they explained it with the drunken idiot, which I feel like is the only way to explain the movie.
True.
Alright, then, so going from my least favorite MCU film to one of my favorites, Captain America the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm. This is definitely top 5.
That one was really good.
Top 5 MCU films.
This definitely proved the Russo brothers' ability to make a film, because the action in this film was fantastic to me, and the drama and everything else was really good. The only problem I really have with it is basically Nick Fury's eye, because they hype it up to the point, and then another bad MCU film ruins it. But other than that, I feel like Captain America: The Winter Soldier is one of the first films someone should watch to see.
Well, I don't know, because this is one of the more grounded films in the MCU. You know, which is still not saying much, because it's still about a bunch of Nazis taking over a giant organization and crashing a bunch of giant helicarriers into Washington, D.C., but it's still definitely the most grounded MCU movie. Or at least one of them.
Yeah.
I feel like this is one of the few MCU movies you could kind of watch by itself that wouldn't be too hard to figure out without watching everything before it, but it's not as good without having all the context.
Though, as this movie goes on, the more inconsistent it gets. Because at one point, I think the bald guy with the glasses, who's a Hydra agent, they're threatening him, and they're just like, "Why don't you go get Black Panther?" He doesn't say Black Panther, but he says Hulk, Iron Man, or something. And then the last thing he says is Stephen Strange, who
wasn't a superhero.
In the MCU,
he's a surgeon.
Wait,
he was a surgeon.
Really? He said that? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and it ruins. It's so weird to see, but it's also one of the.
But the reason they say it though is not because they have superpowers, but because they're basing it off of their intelligence, their track record, and what they can do, and how they think that will influence them to either aid or threaten Hydra. That's that whole thing was.
So and I'm just misremembering.
We see that was true in the case of Stephen Strange, because lo and behold, he gets magic.
Oh, okay. So it's just.
And if Hydra was still in action at the time, Stephen Strange with magic would not have been very helpful towards Hydra.
But Stephen Strange didn't have magic at the time.
No, but they figured hey, this is a smart guy, and we know that based off of his character, somehow in some way, he's not going to be good for us.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's pretty much the only basis they had within the context of that.
Okay, that
movie,
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of shoddy logic, but I mean, who really cares when you get down to it?
Where they did the Stan Lee thing, where it's alliterative name means that they're strong. So they just saw his name, they're just damn, that guy's going to be powerful. We need to eliminate him.
So going back to what you said about the two other people we mentioned, Tony Stark and Bruce Banner.
Oh, I don't know if you mentioned them. I was just picking names out of a hat.
He does mention Bruce Banner, but I don't remember. Tony Stark is somewhere mentioned as being somebody on the list, but I don't remember if it was at that particular moment.
Yeah.
But still, it's Tony Stark. Oh, no alliteration. He's nothing special. Bruce Banner. There we go. Double B's. There we go. He's gonna be a big, strong boy.
All right. So anyone else want to add on to Captain America: The Winter Soldier? I feel bad because there's like no one's really saying much, but like everything's been said about this film.
There has been a lot said about it, so there's not really much we can particularly get into unless we have something really profound to say about it or some like discovery we've made, which there's pretty much nothing that hasn't been said.
Okay, so you guys know the YouTuber Mr. Sunday Movies?
I do know of them. I'm not a particular fan of their format. He pointed out a really
interesting Easter egg in this film, where in the last 5 minutes, Captain America was just running around with the Superman logo on his chest.
Wait, what?
Yeah. It's really cool. So, next is Guardians of the Galaxy.
This is a solid movie.
Hey.
This is definitely up there as, like, my favorite MCU film. Because, I love Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Dude, this movie made my brother buy a record player just so he could get the record of all... Because there is an actual record with, like, the soundtrack of Guardians of the Galaxy on it. My brother went out, bought that, and a record player just so he could listen to it.
This soundtrack is, like, probably one of the best in the MCU. Like, just Guardians 1 and 2, probably the best soundtracks in the MCU. I mean...
Or maybe it was Guardians 2, but still, like, he went out and bought a record player just because of these movies.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I really enjoy
that is
Thor's
true, yeah,
soundtrack.
Thor's too. Mm-hmm.
Like,
Ragnarok.
Like Ragnarok, or like the previous two movies? Because like, there's not much special to the other ones.
Okay, so back to Guardians. I really enjoyed the effect that this had on the MCU because of this movie. We're like, audiences enjoyed it, which means we're gonna get even cooler, weirder, abstract stuff onto the big screen because Guardians of the Galaxy works so well.
It's like before when the Guardians of the Galaxy first came out, nobody knew who they were. Everybody was so confused, and like they didn't want us to go see the movie because they didn't know these characters. They weren't as iconic. It's like Captain America.
They wanted to see a
exactly. And then they went and saw it, and then it's like, holy crap! The Guardians of the Galaxy is like my favorite. They've always been my favorite. You know, and like everybody fell in love with them, and now they're like mainstream, and it's just crazy.
It's weird and sad to say, but this is essentially the Frozen of the MCU.
Yeah,
sad.
Because not only was it like a big deal, but also like because both movies in some way, like, I guess, connected with people. This movie a little bit more than Frozen.
I almost feel like it's the
Hercules
Hercules of the MCU.
Some song that little girls would not stop singing.
Wait, what?
Like, this is something.
I guess. I was thinking more like the fact that everybody who saw it, like, who had gone through something, like, kind of connected with all of the characters,
great characters
in it.
Like, the Guardians, they are great characters. That's one of the reasons.
That and music that nobody will stop singing.
Yeah, but, like, the characters in this movie are the reason why people keep coming back to it. That's why they will keep wanting to see the Guardians and more stuff, because they are great characters. Like, they all have their different reasons for being there, and, like, they're all almost completely different. But they're all, like, none of them are good people, necessarily. You know, like, it's kind of like...
They're all just a bunch of assholes standing around in a circle holding hands. Alright, so...
With 11% of a plan.
Yeah, so...
12%.
We're getting kind of long here. We gotta move on. We can gush about this sometime else. So the big boy of this...
We've got 2 movies left.
The big boy of this one...
Disappointing.
Age of Ultron.
I was disappointed.
My least favorite Avengers film.
I was so disappointed.
A slog.
I really like James Spader's acting in it. Like, I really felt like he did an amazing job as Ultron. But Thor didn't have a single character arc.
Well, I mean...
I just want to point out something.
Yeah.
I want to point out something.
Yeah?
Which I don't know if you guys have heard of. There's this channel called Fact Fiend. They do videos about, like, random sort of tidbits about behind-the-scenes stuff with movies and shows and stuff. And they did one about Age of Ultron, where the guy who played Ultron had to have, like, the thing on his head and shoulders that would, like, go up so that it would simulate the actual height of Ultron. Yeah. But because of where his head was in relation to how Ultron was supposed to be, it was about where Ultron's crotch was. And so people would like have to try not to look the guy in the eye, which was essentially them trying not to look Ultron in the crotch.
That's fantastic.
Like, this is legit something. This is legit what people had to go through in the movie. It's like, and I think you can kind of. It's like a kind of subtle thing. I think there was still some of it in the movie in some takes, where it's just like you could see them like trying to look up because it's so weird. They, like, had this light to simulate his red eyes.
Big step, Ultron.
Shut up.
I just had to throw that in there after
That's
you mentioned
fantastic.
the Mr. Sundays thing. It's like, this is
Ultron
way
just,
funnier.
Like, Ultron just like has the line where it's like, "Oh no, I dropped my Magnum condom for my Magnum dong."
But anyway,
Okay.
But Age of Ultron, I feel like really suffered from the fact that like it couldn't live up to the hype of the original Avengers, and one of its three new characters got overshadowed by the X-Men franchise. Because Days of Future Past just introduced the best version of Quicksilver.
Plus, it's not really much of a standalone movie. Like the Avengers, I could watch that, like all day, because it works on its own.
Yeah.
Like it still gets held up by like all the other movies, but it can stand on its own. But Age of Ultron is just like one big setup. It's just like one big setup into the MCU.
That's kind of like what I was saying with Winter Soldier. Like, there's very few movies in this that are good on their own.
Yeah, but even Age of Ultron, if you consider everything else, it's pretty much just a ton of setup. Like, Thor is nothing but a setup machine. Captain America has a few scenes of setup, and it's just like there isn't a conclusion really. Like, sure,
And
we see
one
Ultron
of the
defeated.
best running gags in any of the movies.
I mean, language.
Oh yeah. But I do feel like the best scene, like in all of the MCU, is in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, that scene is great. Yeah, that's definitely one of the best things come out.
Yeah.
Vision lifting the hammer, or
everyone trying to lift the hammer, like that really gives off the characteristics really well. And
so you're a Nando V Movies fan.
Basically. All right, next up we got Ant-Man, which oh boy, I have
Ant-Man is
something
awesome.
to say about Ant-Man.
I wasn't expecting much from this movie, but I went in and I saw it and I love it. I love this movie. It's so great.
Ant-Man could have been so much better though.
It could have been, but Ant-Man's kind of a mediocre hero, at least in the beginning, and even then, like, he's a guy who can grow and shrink. Like, what is that compared to people who can do literal magic? Somebody can literally be fueled by rage. Like, he doesn't stand up as a very, like, he doesn't compare to, like, an A-class hero, but he's still kind of cool.
He did punch a Chitauri flying snake thing.
That is true.
In the face. But
that was like 4 years later. And like
actually, it was
a decade or whatever.
It was a decade later.
In the movies, but like for us, it was like
I mean, technically it was 4 years later for him because he didn't age in the quantum realm. But anyway, continue.
It was 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
But my main problem with it is it had Edgar Wright attached to it, and Edgar Wright is my favorite director. He did Baby Driver, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz. Crap, what's this? End of the World and Scott Pilgrim. And
oh man,
he's a fantastic action director, but they got rid of him because he wasn't cooperating well. He wanted to have more of his flair, and I really dislike that because I love Edgar Wright.
Yeah, he's got a great record.
That's the main reason why I don't really like this film that much, because it could have been so much better. But what we got, I say, is a subpar movie. Not subpar. It's a very average movie. It's good. I wouldn't say it's the best of the MCU. I wouldn't say it's the worst.
I do think that it really, if it wasn't as funny as it is, it definitely wouldn't be as great. Because the villain is bland. Scott Lang is awesome, and Paul Rudd is awesome, and
I definitely feel like it coming after Age of Ultron though is a lot better than Ant-Man the Wasp.
Yeah, that's so true.
Because
I watched that movie in like a day, and it's like, okay, this isn't super interesting.
but because Age of Ultron didn't do that much, Ant-Man felt like a good step forward rather than the other film, which we will
So
talk
it's
about.
kind of interesting because Age of Ultron, is like, it's like I don't know if it's the darkest, but it is presented as kind of like the darkest. There's not as much, there's not as much actual humor. I guess. Hang on, I guess it's like the humor and the lighting and everything, and just the whole direction. Yeah, a lot drier.
It's a lot drier.
And then you have Ant-Man, which is like bright and funny, and I just think that's kind of an interesting interesting comparison.
I do feel like it did have one of the best dialogue moments too. Maybe not the best, but the thing where it's like that up there, that's the end game. And like the whole like we need to build a suit of armor around the world, and it's like, well, we're gonna do this together, but we're gonna fail. We're gonna fail together then. That was really good, especially with how Endgame incorporated those lines.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that's Phase 2 as a whole. Anyone have any more notes?
I think we pretty much covered everything except that Phase 2 did introduce... No, never mind. I don't know what I'm saying. That's it.
I'd say it's like probably the second best out of all of the phases so far. Phase 1 was great, but it had some, at least for me. Phase 2 had some good stuff. It really moved things forward. Phase 1 was good, but I feel like with it being so focused on origins, it's not, I guess, the best thing to go and like sit down and rewatch. At least for me.
I agree.
I'm not sure. I can't speak for you guys, but for me, I would say it's like it works as an in-between thing between the origins and the endings of so many different stories.
Yeah. Out of all the phases that we have covered so far, Phase 2 is definitely my top 10.
Nice.
Out of the 3 phases we have to cover and the 2 that we have covered, it's in your top 10.
Like top phases of all time, like...
I don't think the numbers add up there.
Any franchise?
No, top 10... My top 10 MCU phases.
That's some top tier math there, Ninja.
It's a summer. Just let him do it.
All right. I think there's...
Alrighty,
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Alright, so make sure you follow my Twitter at xninja555, comment, and subscribe if you want. I really don't care. We just want your likes and comments. To follow my Twitter.
Just Ninjas. Yeah.
Only Ninja's Twitter, not anybody else's. Lie.
Yeah, with my Twitter, you'll get fantastic things like me adding the exact same YouTuber with the exact same photo of a bear saying bear. Alright, that's a wrap.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Adios.
Bye.